Watch how Dave Chappelle revisits his roughest childhood memories and finds humor, pain, and unexpected wisdom that only a father could give.
If you're in a group that I made fun of, then just know that I probably will only make fun of you if I see myself in you. I make fun of poor white people because I was once poor. And I know that the only difference between a poor black person and a poor white person is that a poor white person feels like it's not supposed to be happening to them. I know what it's like to have a cold house. I wasn't allowed to touch the thermostat growing up without asking my father. And it would be fucking freezing in the house. I'd be like, Dad, please, can I please just turn the heat up to like, I don't know, 32? Nigga, it's really cold. And my dad would say, just put more clothes on, David. Got all three of my outfits on. Nigga, when you look at me, I'm freezing up here. And he said, just don't think about how cold you are, David. And I said this, I didn't say it to him, but I said it in front of him so he could hear it. I said, I fucking hate being poor. And my dad got really upset. He didn't scream or holler, that wasn't his way. He just threw his newspaper on the floor and he said, David, 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 you are not poor. He said, poor is a mentality. He said it's a mentality that very few people ever recover from. Don't you forget it, son. You are broke. He said, these are just financial circumstances that I hope to overcome one day very soon. And I said, well, Dad, whatever you want to call this, it's wildly uncomfortable. There was a big dance coming up in the middle school. I was 12 years old. I said, Dad, can I go to the dance? He said, of course you can go to the dance. I want you to get out and meet some more kids. I said, great. It costs $3 to get in. And my dad said, ooh. Sorry, son, I don't have it. I was like, what the fuck? You don't have $3? Well, then how are we alive, Dad? Wish I found some way out of this hell. Do anything to not be poor. I will show Michael Jackson my penis if I get a chance. I said, man, f y'all too, you canceled. I ain't jerking off to none of your pictures again. I supported the Me Too movement, but the whole time, I thought that the way they handled that was stupid. They were doing shit like going to the Golden Globes, and all of them would be like, let's all go to the Golden Globes and wear black dresses to give these men a piece of our minds. Bitch, that is not gonna work. You think Martin Luther King's gonna be like, I want everybody to keep riding the bus, but wear matching outfits. I want everybody to wear crocheted hats so they know we're serious. What the f was y'all doing? And then I said something about it in one of my specials, and all these women actresses came after me. I said, man, f y'all too, you canceled. I ain't jerking off to none of your pictures again. They were like, who is he to tell us anything? I'll tell you exactly who I am. I'm the one that got off the bus and left $50 million on the bus and walked. You have to ask yourself, if you're thinking about it, who are these laws designed to protect? Like, let's say they designed this law to protect me, my interests. Transphobic comedian Dave Chappelle. And let's say that I'm in Walmart doing a little shopping with my family. Now, I should tell you, if that ever happens in real life, you should know my dreams didn't work out. But let's say something goes horribly wrong, and there I am in Walmart with the poor whites rummaging around for mediocre goods and services. And then I gotta go to the restroom. So I excuse myself from my family. I go to the men's room. Now I'm standing at the urinal taking a leak. And this is what this law is gonna do. And suddenly, a woman walks into the men's room. I'm gonna be like, that's strange. And then she stands shoulder to shoulder with me at the urinal. I'm gonna be like, ugh, bitch, what's going on with you? And then she hikes her skirt up and pulls a real live meaty dick out. What do you think I'm gonna say? Thank God she's in here with me. At least now I know my family's safe. No, I'm not gonna feel that way at all. I'm gonna feel very uncomfortable. I would feel better if it was a man with a vagina backed up to the urinal next to me. I wouldn't even think about that. I'd just be like, that's funny. This guy is peeing out of his butt for some reason. Oh my God, he must be a veteran. Thank you for your service. We all went backstage and was just drinking and talking and laughing, and Daphne stole the room. She had everyone cracking up, spinning the yarn, telling us all these crazy stories about shit she be into. We all laughing real hard, and then she's telling us and everyone's laughing. I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, she is funny. I pulled her aside and I said, you're hilarious. I didn't know that when you were on stage. I said, you're doing some things wrong, but I can help you. I said, anytime I'm in San Francisco, why don't you open the show for me and I'll just try to give you some pointers, see if you can't work this thing out. And she said, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And she grabbed me real tight, hugged me, squeezed me. and I pushed her off violently because I'm transphobic. I said, boundaries, When Sticks and Stones came out, a lot of people in the trans community were furious with me, and apparently they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, because Twitter's not a real place. And the hardest thing for a person to do is go against their tribe if they disagree with their tribe, but Daphne did that for me. She wrote a tweet that was very beautiful, and what she said was, punching down on someone requires you to think less of them. And I know him, and he doesn't. He doesn't punch up, he doesn't punch down, he punches lines, and he's a master at his craft.
The poor whites are my least favorites. We've gotten a lot of trouble out of them.
And I've never seen so many of them up close. I looked them right in their coal-smeared faces. And to my surprise, you know what I didn't see? I didn't see one deplorable face in that group. I saw some angry faces and some determined faces, but they felt like decent folk. No, they did. In fact, I'm not even lying, and I didn't sound fucked up, but I felt sorry for them. I know the game now. I know that rich white people call poor white people trash. And the only reason I know that is because I made so much money last year, the rich whites told me they say it at a cocktail party. And I'm not with that shit. And I stood with them in line like all of us Americans are required to do in a democracy. Nobody skips the line to vote. And I listened to them. I listened to them say naive, poor white people things. Man, Donald Trump's gonna go to Washington and he's gonna fight for us. I'm standing there thinking in my mind, you dumb motherfucker. You are poor. He's fighting for me. Now listen, women get mad at me, gay people get mad at me, lesbians get mad at me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is true, these transgenders, these guys want me dead. I've gone too far, I've said too much. And I gotta tell you, I'm very worried about it. I'm not even joking. Every time I come out on stage, I be scared. I be looking around the crowd, searching for Knuckles and Adam's apples to see where the threats might be coming from. And he came up to me on the street the other day. He said, careful, Dave, they after you. I said, what? One they or many theys? Before I even say anything about that community, you must know, and I hope you all feel the same way, I am not indifferent to the suffering of someone else. There's laws, the mean laws. In our country, North Carolina passed a law once that said a person in North Carolina must use the restroom that corresponds with the gender they were assigned on their birth certificate. No, 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 no. No, that's not a good law. That's a mean law. No American should have to present a birth certificate to take a shit at Walmart in Greensboro, North Carolina, where the baby shot and killed a motherfucker. Walking in here tonight, I saw the pride flags up, and I remember when I came here all those years ago, it's the first time I'd ever met a kid who was just like gay. It was never strange to us. His sexuality was the least remarkable thing about a person that could dance as well as Roger Bellamy, or he was a student that went here that used to sell drugs. This particular guy did the cardinal no-no on the streets. He did what they call not making your roll, which meant that he got some drugs on consignment and he didn't pay whoever gave him the drugs back. And whoever gave him those drugs had declared, I'm gonna come to that school and I'm gonna kill you, he said. And my man was scared, and the word got around that the goons was coming. There's a camaraderie between these students that I don't know that I've seen since. And by the time the goons showed up, every dude that went to this school, gay, straight, whatever the fuck, was all standing out front. They said, you have to kill all of us. And who was in front of all of them? Roger Bellamy with some leg warmers on like this. I see a white dude walking across my property like he's supposed to be there. He had a rifle over his shoulder, too. Ain't that a bitch? I said, what the fuck is this guy doing on my property? I was mad as shit, but I was unarmed. So I ended up just waving to this motherfucker like a bitch. I was just like... And as soon as he got far enough away, I ran to my car and sped to Kmart. I said, I need a gun immediately. The guy didn't answer, no questions. He just grabbed a 12-gauge shotgun, handed it to me. I'd never even held a gun before. I'm not a dummy. I'm like, well, I need some bullets too. And the guy reached under the counter, put 2 box shells on the counter. He said, all right, buddy, which box do you want? One box had a picture of some ducks on it. The other box had a picture of some deer. I said, well, what's that box with them ducks? He said, oh, that there's birdshot. And then he goes just like this. I'm not exaggerating. He goes, that won't kill a man. He said, it'll just pepper him up nicely. I said, what the pepper? You know what it means to pepper a motherfucker up? It means that when the shell explodes, hot BBs will shoot out of the barrel of the gun, not killing a motherfucker, but penetrating their skin and shallow flesh. Boy, that's gotta hurt. Hot BBs? Ha ha! I said, well, what's that box with the deer on it? He goes, oh, that there's buckshot. That'll put a hole in the goddamn truck if you wanted to. So which box do you want? And he picked the one with the deer up and shook it. I thought he was trying to trick me. I was like, do you have a box with a picture of a white dude trespassing on it?
Watch Dave Chappelle reveal why Trump is so loved.
A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. That first debate, I'd never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, this whole system is rigged. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama sitting over there looking at him like, no, it's not. And the moderator said, well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, what would be your evidence? He said, I know the system is rigged because I use it. I said, God damn. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, this man doesn't pay his taxes. He shot right back. That makes me smart. If you want me to pay my taxes, then change the tax code. But I know you won't because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do. And with that, my friends, a star was born. I was doing a nightclub in Oakland 16 years ago, and this is the first time that the trans community ever got mad at me that I knew about. And I was nobody. I just quit Chappelle's show. It was like a nothing hole-in-the-wall club, and I was doing some transgender jokes in Oakland. It was 16 years ago. My pronoun game was not as nice as it is today. I went too far. I said things like tranny and shit. I didn't know these words were bad, and a woman stood up and just gave me the business. Started screaming at me, and I'm sure it was a woman, but she kept calling me transphobic and all this shit. I'd never even heard these words before. It's really weird. I didn't trip. I just gave security the look like, get that bitch out of here and the movement. And then she went to the press. And the next day, one of the gay papers wrote all the same things she had said to me about me in the paper. Misquoted the jokes and was calling me transphobic. And again, all these words. I'd never heard them before. But every time that I talked with anybody from that community since, they always repeat the talking points from that article. My least favorite of which being, and I hate this phrase, they say I was punching down on them. The fuck does that mean? Now fast forward, it's 2019. I'm in a restaurant in Ohio. And to be honest, it's not a very nice restaurant, but it's a nice restaurant if you're a white person from Ohio that's never been anywhere before. Picture Chili's. I'm sitting at the bar, I'm having a drink by myself, and the only other person in the bar is a woman, a couple stools down. And she was alone, and she was older, and that made me feel sad because it was the holidays. So I told the bartender, send that woman a drink on me. She's trying to spread the cheer, and I wish I didn't. This woman wanted to talk. She wasn't mean, she was nice, but she just wanted to talk about shit that, the nigga that's trying to get drunk, don't want to hear about this bitch remodeling her bathroom, and I'm sitting there trying to be polite. Oh, Subway tiles, word. But then she hits a lick, piqued my interest. She says, my daughter is coming home for the holidays. Oh, that's great news. I'm glad you're not going to be alone. Then she goes on and on about how great her daughter is. I guess her daughter got a new agent, and she's out in Hollywood, she's in movies and on television and all this stuff. And as she's telling me this, I'm thinking, this woman is so sweet. She probably doesn't even know who I am or what I do for a living. Because I know what your daughter's out in Hollywood doing. And then she goes, would you like to see her picture? Oh, now I don't want to see this woman's picture, but what am I going to do? I go, okay, yeah, sure, I'd love to see the picture. And I grab the picture, and this is all I say. Oh, she's very beautiful. And as she puts the picture away, she looks mean all of a sudden, like she caught me in some kind of trap. What does that face mean? And then she goes, she's transgender. And I think to myself, oh, this does know who I am. I was in Santa Fe the other night, and the motherfucker threw a banana peel at me. It was premeditated, you could tell. The peel was too brown, you know what I mean? It was like, you didn't eat that banana recently, motherfucker. You had that shit waiting on me. And then they arrested the guy, which was, I said, someone's gonna fuck you in the holding cell, you know that, right? 20 years from now, he's gonna be tucking his kids into bed, and the kid gonna be like, Daddy, tell him about the day that you threw that banana peel at that. Boy, I'll tell you what, that black motherfucker had it coming. I saw his name up on the marquee about a week before. I said, man, if I could just get close enough to meet him, throw a banana on that nigga, show him how. I didn't even want to press charges. This has happened to me before. I live in Ohio, right? I was walking with my sister. Now, my sister was dressed in all Muslim garb, as were her children. And I was dressed as Dave Chappelle. We were walking and just talking about something, and a car sped around the corner, and the window came down, and somebody threw a snowball and hit me right in my shoulder. So then I ran out into the street and I just tapped on his window. Hey, my man, can I just talk to you guys for a second? I just want to talk. Now, this is an old black trick. Really, I didn't want to talk. I was going to f*** him up. If you're ever caught in traffic and the black guy starts saying he just want to talk to you, don't open the door. Even if he's me, smiling at you. And they were like, chill, bro, just chill. And then the one guy in the back seat, I don't know what, he was just cockier than his friends. He was like, fuck it, man. I'll get out the car. And I didn't notice his window was down. And he threw a snowball and shit me right in my chest. Pow! He said, fuck you, you fucking nigger. And then the light turned green and they sped off. Now, I didn't notice it, but while I was yelling at him, a crowd of all white people had formed because it was an all-white town. And I was like, uh-oh, I thought I was going to get jumped. And one of them white guys stepped out and was like, I didn't like that at all. And then the old white guy stepped out of the crowd and said, young man, if you're going to fill out a police report, I would like to come with you and do the same. I said, you guys would do that for me? And the whole crowd said, hooray! I said, come on, y'all. I look like Malcolm X going to see Brother Johnson with a trail of white people. He was always sitting in the police station, and the police came in and like, well, Mr. Chappelle, 16 identical police reports. We ran the tags, 2 young men that had their mother's car. We have all 4 suspects in holding. Their mother is here. I saw a lady pacing back and forth in the hallway, and I said, is that? He goes, yes, that's their mother. And when the mom came in, she saw it was me. She busted out crying. Oh, God, oh, no, I don't want him to go to jail. I am so sorry. I didn't raise him to do this. We love your comedy. We love you at the house. I said, miss, please, just, all right, look, I don't necessarily want your son to go to jail either. But what he did was pretty fucked up. Is there something we can do short of jail just to let him know that he's wrong? She said, oh, I don't know. What did you have in mind? You know what we could do? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but maybe if you could just suck my dick a little bit. Just a little bit. Watch every special I did on Netflix. Listen to everything I ever said about that community. I'll go through them. I said, how much do I have to participate in your self-image? I said, you shouldn't discuss this in front of black people. I said, I know niggas in Brooklyn that wear high heels just to feel safe. I asked you, why is it easier for Bruce Jenner to change his gender than it is for Cassius Clay to change his name? If you listen to what I'm saying, I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking about us. And they don't listen. It's very annoying. They've canceled people that are more powerful than me. They canceled J.K. Rowling. My God, J.K. Rowling wrote all the Harry Potter books by herself. She sold so many books, the Bible worries about her. And they canceled her because she said in an interview, and this is not exactly what she said, but effectually, she said gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad as shit. They started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what the fuck that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. So I looked it up. TERF is an acronym. Stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. This is a real thing. This is a group of women that hate transgender. They don't hate transgender women, but they look at trans women the way we blacks might look at blackface. It offends them. Like, ooh, this bitch is doing an impression of me. Now, I shouldn't speak on this, because I am not a woman, nor am I a trans. But as we've established, I am a feminist.
Dave Chappelle took one sleepover and turned it into a roast of race, class, and stovetop stuffing. Only he could make that hilarious.
My parents did just well enough so that I could grow up poor around white people. And to be honest, when Nas and them talk about the projects, I used to get jealous because it sounded fun. Everybody in the projects was poor, and that's fair. But if you were poor in Silver Spring, nigga, it felt like it was only happening to you. Nas does not know the pain of that first sleepover at a white friend's house. And you come back home on Sunday and just look at your parents like, y'all need to step your game up. Everything at Timmy's house works. Timmy was one of my first white friends, like, in my life, man. Me and him used to hang out, and one day I was at his house, we were just hanging out, and Timmy says, Dave, why don't you stay for dinner tonight? I said, oh, man, I'd love to, but I can't. If I'm not home before dark, my mother will kill me. That was a lie. My mother had several jobs. I hadn't seen her in like 3 or 4 days. And the only reason I lied to Timmy was because at that point in my life, it was my experience that white dinner wasn't delicious. I'd rather go home and fry some bologna or some shit like that. But then old Timmy threw me a curveball I wasn't expecting. He said, oh, it's too bad you can't stay, Dave, because Mom made stovetop stuffing. I said, what the fuck, stovetop? Well, hold on, let me make some phone calls real quick. I had seen that commercial so many times, I had dreamt of getting my hands on some of that stovetop stuffing. Finally, I met a motherfucker that actually had a box of stovetop in the house. I couldn't miss this opportunity, so I pretended to call my mother. And then I came back and I said, Timmy, you're not gonna believe this great news. Mom said I can stay. And he said, fantastic. He said, why don't you come with me and we'll help set the table and then we can say the blessing. I had no interest in setting this motherfucker's table or saying these crazy ass Mormon prayers. I just wanted that goddamn stuffing. So I told Timmy, I said, you know what, I'd love to help, but let me go wash my hands first. My plan was simple. Wash my hands slowly, and by the time I'm done, the table will be set, the blessing will be said, and all that there will be left to do is eat. Went to the bathroom. I washed my hands very slowly. I must have been in there for about 10 minutes. And suddenly, one of his mothers came to the door. She was like, hi, David, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, Timmy tells me that you're planning on staying for dinner. I said, I hope that's not a problem, ma'am. She says, no, it's no problem. In fact, we'd love to have you. It's just that we weren't expecting company. And I'm afraid there's not enough stovetop stuffing for everybody. So I kicked her in the pussy. I came home early from the road. I had a $12,000 suit on because life's been going good. And I got home early and dinner was cooking. You ever come home when dinner's cooking? Doesn't that smell good? And my son saw me and he was like, Dad's home. And he got up from the table and ran over to give me a hug, but he had chicken grease all over his face. So I stiffed on him like, yo, my man. Wash these threads, son. This is an expensive suit. I don't want you to get the chicken grease all over me. And he was like, what the chicken grease? Dad, this is duck. A tear came out of my eyes. I never dreamt I'd do so well in life that I'd raise a nigga with duck grease all over his face. Network television, they have a department that's called Standards and Practices. This is the department that tells you what you can and cannot say on television. And if you're doing your job well, you should never hear from them. But if you're making Chappelle show, you'll hear from these motherfuckers all the time. And remember, this is 15 years ago. I made a mistake. I didn't even know I had done anything wrong. I had written a sketch that had the word faggot in it. So I had to go to Standards and Practices. They call me up. I don't know why they're calling me, but I like the lady that runs the department. She's usually really fair and was one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. So she sits me down. We have a nice conversation. She tells me, oh, the sketches are great. I go, oh, fantastic. Well, then why am I here? She said, because, David, there's no way that you can ever say the word faggot on our network. I didn't know I did anything wrong. I didn't try to defend myself. I said, all right, I'll take it out. Have a good afternoon. And as I was leaving, it occurred to me, hey, Renee, quick question. It's just a question. Seriously, I want to know, like, why is it that I can say the word nigger with impunity, but I can't say the word faggot? And she said, because, David, you are not gay. I said, well, Renee, I'm not a nigger either.
Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million.
People say that. He lost $50 million. That's not even close to what happened to this dude.
Everybody wants to know, why'd you walk away from $50 million?
I wasn't walking away from the money. I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau. It always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, they're trying to kill me.
Like, no, not they offered him $50 million and he turned it down. Who gonna turn down $50 million? Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say I'm so free.
This isn't just about what Manny Pacquiao said. It's about memory, pain, and who gets to move on. Dave flips a public scandal into a deeper truth about identity and justice. But do you think it lands, or does it cut too deep?
Some people can't do that. Some people just can't get over themselves. Gay people have a hard time doing that recently. Here we go. Here comes the deep water. No, recently I've noticed that. I noticed it with that Manny Pacquiao controversy. Yeah, no, it was now in the gay community's defense. Manny Pacquiao said some outlandish shit about gay people. Very, very not nice things that I won't repeat, but there was biblical verses and some analogies to animals. Wasn't a good look. Nike took his shoes immediately, which I thought was a little harsh. a little harsh. You know what I mean? Because he's just because he's Asian. You know what I mean? Fuck, you gonna take shoes off Asian dude to appease a gay dude? You know what I mean? No, you don't know what I mean. But Asian people kind of know what I mean. No? No Asians in the front? No? No, this is what I mean. Okay, look. Okay, you're an Asian dude. No, I say this with no disrespect, but we're all Americans, right? And we can agree that America has a huge body count all over the world, but nowhere more than Asia. Literally, if you look at history, recently, we have bombed the masculinity out of an entire continent. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on fucking Japan, and they've been drawing Hello Kitty and shit ever since. There's a lot of lady boys in the wake of our bombs. And I know these things because my wife is Asian. She's Filipino. All right, well, okay, so that explains it. Now you know why you see me at all those Filipino events. I'm not there picking up pussy, I'm dropping some off. I take my wife to all that. I took my wife to see Pacquiao fight Mayweather. We sat ringside, okay? That was a quiet car ride home. That's what that was. But if you know what's popping in the Philippines, you know that they got a whole generation of kids in the Philippines growing up without their mothers. A lot of women in the Philippines go to the Arabian Peninsula, they come to the United States, they make all their money here, they send all that money back home, which is still one of the #1 staples in the Philippines economy, money that their expats send back to the Philippines. The men, on the other hand, are left rearing children, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on their wives' checks. These men have been fucking emasculated. And then suddenly, a boxer rises from amongst them and reinstates their manhood with his motherfucking fist. This is not the guy you're supposed to ask, what do you think of homosexuals?
This isn't just a joke about food. It's Chappelle dissecting how race, identity, and even groceries get politicized. He flips a stereotype into a question. Why is some culture mocked and some invisible?
Everybody's rude. Indians, they eat nasty food. All they ate was corn and shit. Doritos, I think they call it. People only see the surface. They see the division in our foods. Just because I eat chicken and watermelon, they think that that's something wrong with me. Let me tell you something. If you don't like chicken or watermelon, something is wrong with you, motherfucker. There's something wrong with you. Where are all these people that don't like chicken and watermelon? I'm sick of hearing about how bad it is. It's great. I'm waiting for chicken to approach me to do a commercial. I'll do it for free, chicken. It's the least I can do. They make fun of Latin people for eating, what y'all eat? Beans, rice, corn. Listen, that's not a reason to hate a motherfucker, all right? It's funny, but it's not a reason to hate. The only reason these things are even an issue is because nobody knows what white people eat. You've been very good at keeping that shit a secret amongst yourselves. I study white people. You don't know that. I'm writing a paper on you. Not even for school, just to do it, just to get some, doing this independent research. I'm spending my money, that's why I'm working so hard. I follow you around grocery stores. They freak out. I just try to peek in the cart. They always say, get away from my cart. What are you looking at? Chicken and giblets are over there. You must be lost. These are vegetables.
This isn't just a history joke, it's Dave's wild take on how war, gender roles, and economic power reshaped women forever. It's hilarious but also uncomfortably real, so what do you think? Is he exposing truth or just poking the bear?
Back when we were growing up, only black people were mad. Now, everybody's just trying to get in on the act. I try to think to myself, well, when did everyone get mad? And then I realized this happened before we were born. This is a long way to go, but probably started in the Second World War. Think about it. All these black men, millions of black men, leave the United States for the first time, go over to Europe with America's armed forces and fight the Nazis and make more money fighting Nazis than they ever dreamed they would make in the United States. And a lot of those men, while they were in Europe, just to be real, not to be crass, a lot of them probably got their dick sucked by white women. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this was World War II Europe, and these were desperate times, and penises were being sucked for shoelaces and chocolate and very frivolous things. And it's very hard to come back to America and sit on the back of the bus after you've been in the south of France getting your dick sucked for a Crunch Bar or some crazy shit like that. That's a life-changing experience. And while that was happening in Europe, here in America, for the first time, women entered the workforce en masse by the millions. All the men were gone. Someone had to run the factory. The ladies did it. This was the first generation of American women to have independent income in mass. And when the men came back, the women weren't the same. American women had grown. They were uttering phrases that no woman on earth had ever spoken before. Things like no and shut the fuck up and I don't feel like it.
This isn't just a joke about lesbians and private school politics. It's a deeper shot at performative tolerance, social tension, and who's actually allowed to laugh. Dave pushes the line, but is he pointing out hypocrisy or just poking the bear?
I got one son that goes to a public school, and his little brother goes to a private school. It's an experiment. I just want to see what's going to happen to him. But what's weird is my little son in private school, he's like my thuggy son, you know what I mean? I don't know where he get that from. He's not getting it from me, and he's definitely not getting it from that school. That school is it's a liberal school. It's the kind of school, it might be like 12 black students in the entire school, and I'm the only black parent. And none of the parents like me either. Not because I'm black, but just like they don't like how I roll, because I be showing up late all the time, and I'm like, in a Porsche and a blasting music that they don't like. You know, the music be like, I'll beat the pussy up. And I pull into the parking lot. I might be smoking a cigarette with the kids in the car. Then I pull into like that handicap space. And then when I get out of the handicap space, they always want to say some passive aggressive shit. Morning, Dave. Don't know if you noticed, but you actually parked in the handicap space. Huh? Yeah, you know what, Frank? I did notice. But who is this handicap guy we're all waiting on that never shows up? So I hate going over to that school. The only parents that are nice to me is lesbian couple, Kate and Sarah. Actually, Kate hates my guts. Sarah knows that I'm black and she's half black, so she just understands me. You know what I'm saying? I can't explain it. Because I'll say shit and Kate's just too serious about being a lesbian. I'll be like, hey, Kate, hey, Sarah, you guys going to do the father-son picnic next week? How's that going to work? And Kate will instantly be furious. But Sarah knows I'm fucking around, so she'll just say something cool. I don't know, Dave. Maybe me and Kate will flip for that shit. I said, you better save that coin toss because everybody knows you strapping on in that household. And then Kate will turn bright red, but Sarah just fist bump me like, you right, nigga? It's me. Bye.
This is how Dave Chappelle turns getting left out of Diddy's wild parties into pure comedy, exposing the paranoia and self-doubt behind the joke.
Did you know anything about those golf parties? I'd be like, nah, man. I didn't know anything about golf. And they all look at me like, and they be like, well, how all these people you know was at the golf, but you's the only one that wasn't at the golf. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, oh my God, I'm ugly. That's a tough way to find that out. Can you imagine if you were me reading the newspaper and found out everyone in Hollywood had an orgy behind your back? Like none of y'all called me? Well, it really hurts. I'm glad they didn't call me though, because the stories that come out about it are crazy. I saw one thing on the internet, so I'm not sure this is true. Probably doubt it's true, but I saw it. Some guy who said he knew Puff was like, yeah, man. He's like, I was at the golf one time and I went in the back room and Puff was in there with Carl Winslow, with Dad from Family Matters. He was smashing, and I was like, Puff, what are you doing? And he was like, yeah, it feels good to make another man do your bidding. And I was like, oh my God. Carl Winslow from Family Matters was there. I wasn't invited. It's worse than I thought. Or maybe I'm not ugly. Look at my face. This is not necessarily a handsome face, but it's not an ugly face. But if you really study my face clearly, I have snitch energy. Oh, I look like I'll tell. The last thing you want to see the orgy is me across the room looking at you like, you watching at home, you might not be famous, but I bet you ain't perfect. Nobody is perfect. The idea is, as you live your life, you're supposed to evolve and grow past your mistakes. But if you get to be 55, and Puff is 55, he doesn't look old, but he's paying half price at the movies. Ain't nothing wrong getting older, but if you 55 and you got 1,000 bottles of baby oil in the house, clearly, can't stop, won't stop. Because I'm 51, and I'm telling you, this is true. I can't remember a single time I ever threw an empty bottle of baby oil in the trash. I don't think I've ever finished a bottle of baby oil in my life. If we went to my mother's house tonight, she probably got the same baby oil we had when I was a little boy with the pink top, and somehow Puffy was all the way down to the last.
Dave Chappelle tears into Trump's plan to bring Chinese jobs and coal to America, and you won't believe how he breaks it down.
All this motherfucker's ideas sound like high people ideas. Like he doesn't think these things through before he tells us. He just tells us what he's thinking as soon as it occurs to him. This shit was nuts. I'm gonna go to China and I'm gonna get those jobs from China and bring them back here to America. For what? So iPhones can be $9,000? Leave that job in China where it belongs. None of us want to work that hard. What is he thinking? I want to wear Nikes. I don't want to make them. What are you doing? Stop trying to give us Chinese jobs. I am going to bring back coal. Coal? I'm not even exaggerating. I have never in my life even seen a lump of coal. I honestly don't even know what coal is for. If you're gonna have digging around in the dirt looking for shit, find me some truffles. That's what I'm about.
Dave Chappelle explains why a horse and buggy blocking the highway proves the Amish God is ridiculous, and you won't believe where he takes it next.
I respect everybody's beliefs except Amish people, because they are the only ones that I can say clearly their God is wrong. Speed limit is 75 miles an hour in Ohio, and one lane of traffic is blocked by a goddamn horse and buggy. Your God is ridiculous. All the Amish people around my way know me too. Not from television, obviously. They know me from the streets, because when I see them horse and buggies, I'll pull the Porsche over and talk to them. Ezekiel, are you sure that God doesn't want you to have any of this technology or this energy? Huh? I can't hear you. Let me turn this air conditioner off. What did you say? And I'm like, get away from me, ye. Ye tried to tempt me like the devil. Nah, bro, I'm trying to put you on to the game, Zeke. It's a big world out here. I just went 25 miles in 30 minutes. That's a day's journey for you. You don't even know what the weather's gonna be tomorrow, do you? I do. You don't even know that there's a valuable Pokemon right on your shoulder. Michael Jackson sucks my dick. And that was my first sexual experience. If I'm starting here, then sky's the limit. I don't think he did it. You know what? Even if he did do it, you know what I mean? I mean, it's Michael Jackson. I know more than half the people in this room have been molested in their lives. But it wasn't no goddamn Michael Jackson, was it? This kid got his dick sucked by the king of pop. All we get is awkward Thanksgivings for the rest of our lives. You know how good it must have felt to go to school the next day after that Hey, Billy, how was the weekend? How was my weekend? This is my attack. You got attacked 3 months ago. Now you have jokes? I was on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, and a lunatic jumped out of the crowd and attacked me. Now, I gotta tell you, if it happens to you, you don't even know what the fuck is happening. It was like slow motion. I just looked over. I don't know this. I just looked and said, oh my God, I'm being attacked. We was whooping his ass. Not we, I mean, I was on stage trying to think of a joke to tell, but they was beating this up right behind me. Everybody could see it. And I'm sitting up there trying to think of what to say. And I'm tongue-tied. Me, of all people, can't think of anything to say. Look at my karma. Just that moment. Of all the people in the world, Chris Rock walks from backstage, walks up to me in front of 20,000 people, grabs the mic out of my hands and looks at the crowd and goes, was that Will Smith? Man, motherfuckers fell out of their chairs laughing. I was standing there looking stupid. I was fucking furious, because I'm thinking in my mind, what I didn't realize at the time and what Kevin had to learn the hard way is we were breaking an unwritten and unspoken rule of show business. And if I say it, you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean. Those people that took 20% of the alphabet for themselves. I'd say the letters, but I don't want to conjure their anger. It's too late now. I'm talking about them L's and them B's and them G's and the T's. You'll be surprised. I have friends, all kinds of letters. Everybody loves me and I love everybody. I got friends who are L's, I got friends who are B's, and I got friends who are G's. But the T's hate my fucking guts. And I don't blame them. It's not their fault, it's mine. I can't stop telling jokes about these. I don't want to write these jokes, but I just can't stop.